Warning, this video will contain major spoilers for Fire Emblem Three Houses. Watch at your own risk. The Fire Emblem series is an expansive lineup of games dating all the way back to 1990 with an even more expansive roster of unforgettable characters. Every game in the series has at least one main character or lord, a lead character that you as the player control or in some cases even travel alongside to the end of their destination with. Each lord is unique in their own right, whether it's Sincere Lin from the Sasai Plains, headstrong and frame pushing deeper into hostile enemy territory almost by himself, or the selfless silver maiden Mecha, whom had no problem with the world seeing her as a monster as long as she gave freedom to her people. There's as many varied lores as there are entries in the Fire Emblem series, but the one that stood above the rest for me for many years was Ike from Fire Emblem Path of Radiance and Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Ike was a big departure from most other lores prior in this series, and for various reasons. The biggest was that Ike didn't start as a lord, nor did he even want to become a noble of any kind. In fact, when granted a noble status, not only did he accept it very begrudgingly, he ditched his newfound status the first chance he got. Most other lords in the series up to this point either took pride in their nobility they were born with, or felt it their duty to be good leaders for their people and carried themselves in a manner fitting such one of noble status. Not Ike, however. He was only concerned with avenging his father's murder and living day to day as a mercenary. But to understand what made me not just like Ike but respect and maybe even admire him, I have to talk a bit about the continent where he and his games hail from, Tellius. On Tellius there's two main races, the regular humans, or Bjork, and the Beastmen, or the proper term, Laguz. In the modern eras Fire Emblems 9 and 10 take place in, the Bjork and Laguz hate each other. Racial tensions run deep to the degree that in the Bjork land of Dayan, children have it drilled into them from a young age that Laguz are subhuman, not even to be treated as second-class citizens. But what does this have to do with Ike, you ask? Well, Ike simply treats everyone the same. In the world of prejudice and racism, Ike has no such preconceived notions. His first time meeting the Laguz Ranulf, Ike accidentally uses a slur towards him, not knowing the proper way to address the Laguz, and after being rebuked, he simply apologizes for his ignorance and asks Ranulf how he'd like to be addressed. An act so uncommon in Tellius it takes Ranulf by complete surprise. This unapologetically to the point and unbiased nature of Ike is what made him stand out from the crowd to me, and for the longest I thought there wouldn't be another lord or main character to even come close to surpassing him. That was until I finally got my hands on Fire Emblem Three Houses. But before we talk about my experience with Three Houses, let's rewind a bit to before the game's release. We knew a Fire Emblem game was coming to the Switch eventually, and I was excited, but also I was honestly nervous about the series finally returning to a home console for the first time in 12 years. You see, I'm in the camp of people that doesn't really care for the direction the series has gone in, starting with the 3DS entries. Yes, I was still a fan of these games, but there's no denying that they took some drastic changes from the series I had come to love. And I felt that there had to be a balance that intelligent systems could reach, both having the more casual elements that attracted the new wave of Fire Emblem fans, while still having those darker, serious story elements and rewarding difficult stages. While Three Houses didn't quite achieve all of that, it did enough to keep me playing non-stop until the credits rolled on my first playthrough. And a big driving force of that was none other than Dimitri, the Lord of the Blue Lions Route. I should start by telling you what made me even choose him over the other two lords in the first place. Much of prior to the release of Three Houses, I had no idea who I wanted to choose as my main lord, and honestly that was because none of them really interested me at a first glance. Two prim and proper pretty boys and a princess with an axe didn't exactly spark excitement within me. Honestly, I wasn't feeling much of the game at all. I mean, Fire Emblem in a school setting? No one asked for this. But my perception of these characters and the game itself did a 180 after the E3 time skip trailer. Edelgard looked like a Targaryen, Claude grew facial hair, and Dimitri. Seeing Dimitri was the clincher. Not only was he missing an eye, he looked like he had been through hell and back with his unkempt hair and baggy eyes devoid of emotion. I immediately had to know just what the hell happened to this guy, and it made my decision of what house to choose a no-brainer. So now that you know what made me choose Dimitri as my main lord, let's get into why he left such a big impact on me. And you know, despite the fact that I chose him for his time skip self, I felt a strong connection to Dimitri from the get-go. He was a prince and to be king of a massive kingdom, yet he was soft-hearted and a truly good man at heart. He did his duty as a soldier and prince and cut down any enemies put in front of him, but he hated it and realized deep down that whatever petty words society tried to dress it up as, what he was doing was committing murder, plain and simple. And it ate at him. But I think the one trait Dimitri has that I find most admirable is his willingness to shoulder and share in the pain of those around him. His best friend and retainer, the dude, is ostracized by almost everyone in the kingdom, but Dimitri not only keeps him around, he will not hesitate to put anyone in check that disrespects his ally. And when someone close to Byleth is murdered, Dimitri makes it very clear that Byleth's enemies are his enemies, and when Byleth is ready for revenge, all he has to do is say the word. Now, all these things make Dimitri awesome on their own, and I would have placed him alongside Ike for this alone if this was his whole character. But that's of course only his character before the time skip. Dimitri is a kind and soft-hearted man. But unfortunately, the kinder a man, the harder his sins and regrets weigh on him. Towards the end of Act 1 of Three Houses, you slowly see Dimitri's psyche slipping, the inner conflict of trying to deny that someone he holds very dear was the direct cause of his family and friends being massacred before his very eyes, and that he was too weak to stop it, starts to eat at him, and the Dimitri you've gotten to know up to this point grows more cynical and unhinged. All this comes to a breaking point after the climactic finish to Act 1 and the ensuing time skip. You learn that in the 5 years since you've seen him last, Dimitri has lost his throne, his best friend sacrificed himself so Dimitri could live, he's lost an eye, he's been torturing enemy soldiers to the point they're unrecognizable, and his mental state has deteriorated to the point where he's hearing and seeing phantoms of those he's failed to save in the past. And possibly the worst and saddest part is that he doesn't trust his closest allies anymore, thinking of anyone and everyone as an enemy in waiting. He's a broken man, and it's generally hard to watch someone you were so close to suffer to such a degree. As hard as it was to watch Dimitri suffer this way, all this only made me gravitate towards him more. See, Ike was just an awesome guy all around, but his actual character development wasn't as grand as Dimitri's. I wanted Dimitri to get better, I wanted him to regain his homeland, and if he couldn't do either, then I was ready to stick by his side until the end. But his story didn't end there. Every good story of a fall from grace has a redemption arc, and Dimitri's is done beautifully. At his lowest point, when it truly seems he might be too far gone, tragedy strikes again, and Dimitri loses yet another person close to him. This time partially due to his own foolishness.
Have I caught you off guard, Your Highness? Aww, does it hurt? I bet it hurts real bad, doesn't it? But it's nothing compared to what my brother felt. You will never be forgiven, you know. I will never forgive you.
You must be...
You filthy monster! It's time to die!
Dimitri! Ah! Rodrigue! Your Highness, are you safe? Please tell me it wasn't in vain. This punishment, it was mine to bear. There are no sins or punishments on the battlefield. No, don't die. Please don't die. Father, stepmother, Glenn, they all died and left me behind. Rodrigue, are you to join the ghosts who shadow my every move? This is my fault. I'm the one who killed you, as surely as though I had wielded the blade. Your Highness, you have one thing terribly wrong. None of them, none of us, died for you. I'm dying for what I believe in, just as they did. Your life is your own. It belongs to no other, living or dead. Live for what you believe in.
This ensuing heart-to-heart was a necessary evil in opening Dimitri's eyes and beginning the process of healing and forgiving himself for all his regrets and decisions thus far in life.
Those who died with lingering regret, they will not loose their hold on me so easily. But you seem to have all the answers. So tell me, Professor. Please tell me. How do I silence their desperate pleas? How do I save them? Ever since that day 9 years ago, I have lived only to avenge the fallen. Even my time at the Officers' Academy was also that I could secure my revenge and clear away the regret of the dead. It was the only thing that kept me alive, my only reason to keep moving forward. But then who or what should I live for? What I believe in. Rodrigue said the same thing. But is it possible? I am a murderous monster. My hands are stained red. Could one such as I truly hope for such a life? As the sole survivor of that day, do I have the right to live for myself?
It's a beautiful and sobering scene, and it was the exact moment I knew without a shadow of a doubt that Dimitri had surpassed Ike as my favorite lord in all of Fire Emblem. From the bright young-eyed man with a dark shadow trailing him, to the broken man that saw himself surrounded by enemies, to the damaged but ultimately unbroken king. I felt an attachment and genuine connection to Dimitri that I seldomly feel for any other characters in gaming. I think more than anything, what I liked about Dimitri is that he's a reminder that in life, it's not about how badly you get beaten down, but your persistence and refusal to stay down and let life break you. Seeing the growth of this character over the course of the game is something I can only describe as an experience, one masterfully executed to perfection.
Your hands are so warm. Have they always been?
Congrats on making it all the way to the end of the video. I hope you had as much fun watching as I did making it. If you want to see more of me, think about either subscribing or checking out more of my videos. If you want to make sure you never miss an upload, click the bell icon, join the notification squad. That way you'll always be notified whenever I upload something. A big thank you to this month's patrons, Nightmare Alpha and West Town HD. Your help is always appreciated. Thank you guys so much.